Thanks for joining us again. Yesterday, on the front page of the paper, excitingly, we saw the former president Olusegun Obasanjo playing football with some of his colleagues at 78. But that wasn't all there is to his birthday. There was also a one-day lecture that was titled An Agenda for the Developmental Future of Nigeria, and it was organized in honor of the former president who clocked 78 yesterday. And the lecture focused on the developmental prospects, the security challenges, and the way forward for the nation after 2015. We're going to bring you some sight and sound from that particular occasion, and let's find out what actually transpired.
For violence, we have a lot of violence in this country. Sometimes I become very scared, even having spent the better part of my life wearing army uniform. I still am scared with the degree of violence in this country. I'm scared with the way life has been treated. Human life actually maybe is really, really cheap as things are showing us. And our political class is not helping matter. We need to harness all, we have so many security agencies in this country. The police, road safety, custom, immigration, and everything. We need to harness them.
You have become a measure. When you were president, it's not always we agreed with you, but we knew where you were. We knew where you were going. We knew what your views were and all that. I want to thank you because of that you have done great service to the APC without your knowing it.
Today he remains the only civilian president to conceive, organize and successfully execute a civilian-to-civilian government transition in Nigeria.
That's the reason why any Nigerian child Obasanjo won't say a word at all. It's not about anything else. It's about the love of a country. Truly an honor. A man who had kept you on your toes. No matter what you see between Baba Chief Olusegun Obasanjo and myself, what I can say is a gratitude for me is because you kept me on my toes. That's the reason why any Nigerian child at this point in time should not have basic education. Food and nutrition. I think it's General Okhai who said there is no earthly reason why any Nigerian child, not any Nigerian child, any Nigerian should go to bed without food. We have the resources to be able to achieve that. That we're not achieving it is not because we have no resources.
Sight and sound there from the one that lectured, organized in honor of the former president Olusegun Obasanjo in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. I'm joined now by public affairs analyst Victor Okhai. Good morning, Victor. Thank you for joining us today on Core Digest.
Good morning.
Before we get to the content of that particular lecture, they say there are no permanent friends, no permanent enemies in politics, right? Because you begin to see some major APC chieftains there showering some words of praise on someone who before this time used to be an arch enemy politically.
It's interesting. I think this is instructive for the voting public and for Nigerians and for as many as going about, if you like, making enemies right now on account of candidates. The thing to see here is these people meet at various levels, and ordinary folks just go killing themselves over these people. What is of interest to them, or what is common to them, is their personal selfish interests. Where their interests, and which is why sometimes you find that no matter what happens, when it comes to issues like sharing money at the National Assembly, for instance. You will never hear them quarrel. We never hear about any quarrel at all, because there they just close the chambers. That's when it's really hallowed. They close the chambers, they decide, they share the money, and nobody hears a word, you know. But when it comes to other matters, they'll begin to incite and bring. And so, what I see here, I mean, he should be celebrated. I have no problem with that. But what you will see here is the same set of people that have called him names over the years are now the ones eulogizing him. So, and I'm saying to our Nigerians, shine your eyes. To quote the president, no politician is worth dying for. Is worth losing your life for.
You also noticed that the major content of all of those discussions was also identifying the fact that the major challenge of Nigeria at this time is leadership. You heard the former president talking about there is no reason why an average Nigerian should go to bed hungry. There is no reason why the average Nigerian child should not have access to basic education. And that's coming from someone who has also led Nigeria as president for 8 years. Would it be as a result of the fact that probably he has placed all of the structures on ground and is not quite excited?
No, that's not true. It can't be true. He had every opportunity to make sure no Nigerian went to bed hungry. Even the past governors that were there, present at the occasion, had every opportunity at their time, during their time rather, to make sure no Nigerian went hungry and that they had education and all that. Questions, did they do it? They can't be last-minute apostles talking about what should be when they had every opportunity to do it and they didn't do it. You know, so it's all hypocrisy of all political talk. You know, it's well and good to say, look, it's your right. You must insist on a minimum wage of 100 million naira a day. You know, you can say so. You know, talk is cheap, as the Americans would say. You know, but when you were there and under the circumstance, what did you do? You know, so all that is political talk as far as.
But are you not baffled that we seem not to have that culture of continuity in governance? Amazingly, it's even happened within the same party at this time.
It's, how do I put it now? It's something we need to check. In the past, we used to have the rolling plans. You know, you still have it now, I don't by another name or something like that. But the idea behind these rolling plans is, you might say, every 5 years, this is the blueprint, this is the direction, this is where we're going. And it overlaps from administration to administration, which means, therefore, that if you start a program now, we say within the next 5 years, this is what we want to achieve in the various sectors. Okay. And then you make sure when that is finishing, you review for the next, you know, period, so to say. Now, the idea behind that is for continuity. But with this idea of shooting down everything that is opposition, that is not in your party, we can't make progress.
Is there a way we can legislate it? Because across Nigeria now, what is the usual sight is abandoned projects. One government comes to power, it forgets totally about the estates and the building, the structures, the other person. It's up to us as
citizens. It's up to us who have opportunity to speak in the media. It's up to us as opinion leaders. If you leave it to the politicians, they will manipulate us and they won't do it. But if we, for instance, if you, in your community, if there's a project and it's been started, it's not been concluded, and another administration comes and is talking about something new for you, say, no, finish what's on ground. You understand what I'm saying? Put pressure. And the media will throw up all uncompleted projects as well. If we are allowed to our responsibilities in this regard as citizens and as watchdogs of government, I think it would help. But the problem is we've been so heavily polarized, you know, and we're so gullible, wittingly or unwittingly, you know. Those things that are dear to us, religion, what I mean, things that are very sensitive to us, religion, ethnicity, no ideology, honestly, religion and ethnicity, really. The politicians understand this, and they use it to advantage. They use it to divide us. And so we're always polarized. And so, whereas we should be speaking with one voice concerning issues, when they go out there in the process of sharing, somebody is cheated out of it, he will not come and say, no, these people don't have our interests at heart. He won't talk about his interests. He said, they don't have our interests at heart. It's because we are Muslims. It's because we are Christians. It's because we are a minority group, or because we're from this part of the country. And unfortunately, people are gullible. I would have said it's because of lack of education. But it's not necessarily so, because even the elite are in fact, you will even find them just as gullible as the ones that are not so educated. So maybe what we need is more political education, sort of more, how do I put it now, better education about, issues of government, of governance, and things like that.
Well, will it be right to agree with the former president that all the country needs is to put the correct leadership in place? They say everything rises and falls on leadership. Are you also of the opinion that if Nigeria has had a better leader, we wouldn't be where we are today?
I think we have a good leader. What I think the problem is that because of the politics of opposition, no matter what you do, no matter how well it is, don't forget that perception is as strong as reality. And perception is built in the media, and the media captures the mind, okay? And so there's been so much negative propaganda, so much, too much of it. If you notice over the years, every president has been demonized until they leave office. And then when they leave, they're heroes.
But beyond perception, isn't it more realistic what we experience as average Nigerian? Let's talk about the basic requirements of life. Light, water, good roads. I mean, what's perception compared to what I experience as an average Nigerian?
Well, now that you mention it, let's talk about it. If you've taken a trip, I don't know if you travel, if you've taken a trip from here to Benin in recent times, for instance, the roads are a lot better. We never used to travel by rail before for a very long time. You can actually do rail travel now. Let's begin to talk about infrastructure one by one. You look at them variously. The issue of NEPA, the difference between this administration and the past administration is that during Obasanjo's time, for instance, we heard about the billions and gazillions, if you like, that was spent on the power sector. We never saw results. What this government decided to do was take the bold step of unbundling. So the government doesn't need to spend those zillions anymore. You understand? They've unbundled it, and now the private sector is in charge. Government can now channel its money towards other areas. Now, all of this rot has been long in coming.
And now Mr. President is promising...
What government needs to concentrate on now is in generation. And that's what they're working on. And these things take time. You build the power plants, okay, these power plants take time. It's like the proverbial, not proverbial, what they say about the Chinese bamboo. You put it in the ground, it could be there for like 40 months or 4 years or whatever.
Well, my initial question...
Let me land. I was giving an illustration. And then it's like nothing is happening. And then suddenly within a period of maybe a couple of weeks or so, I think we shoot to over 40 feet. It will seem like magic, but the gestation period has been long in coming. Now that's the same thing. The power plants are being built all over now because government can concentrate its resources on generation, not on distribution anymore. That's gone to private sector. Once these power plants are ready, they commissioned 2 recently. Okay, many more are going to be commissioned very soon. As soon as they're ready, just like that, to be like magic.
If I can remember anything, Victor, I can remember that sometime last year when this issue of privatization of the power sector was rife, Mr. President said categorically that in the first quarter of the new year, I think it was in 2013, and it was talking about the first quarter of 2014, that power supply would have dramatically improved for Nigerians. It was even at, I believe it was in the United States on a show with Christian Amanpour, where he categorically talked about the fact that electricity is better on the streets of Lagos. Now, what we are hearing Mr. President talk about now is that give me another 18 months and things will get better. My initial question, just a minute, Victor, was that is it possible that we could have gotten a better leadership that had better ideas, and we won't have such a time
Now,
lag
let me answer you.
between promises and
No,
fulfillment.
let me answer you. This was, I listened to an address recently, and it's something of serious concern about the vandalization of the gas pipelines. When you talk about generation, you need how do I put it, gas for the turbine and all that. And for the hydro plants, these are seasonal because, of course, it goes with the tide, the seasons, when the rains come and when they go, and all that. But the one you can get consistencies with is the gas, the turbines. Yeah. Now, there have been a lot of sabotage. Government has finally decided that, now whoever, and they're telling the communities to be on the watch because there has been, the sabotage is so terrible. One cannot really say it is one group or another, but certainly there's no point. I'm here now and I'm saying, look, it's like I'm supplying water here, I promise you water. I'm sure of the source. And I come to, the point of distribution. And I say, look, I'm going to supply you water now. And then somewhere along the line, somebody goes to burst the pipeline. No matter what I say, unless that is taken care of, there will be a lacuna between the source and where the water is coming out from. That is exactly what is happening. It's been frustrating. The government has discovered it, and they're doing something about it now. This was just towards the end of last month or so. It's a big problem. It is sabotage. It is sabotage. There's no way, no two way about it. They know what they're generating.
But isn't that also leadership in and of itself when we now measure our development by the level of opposition that has been experienced? For instance, you'll recall what the Director General of President Jonathan's campaign organization said at the wake of the fuel scarcity across the country. He said APC should be held responsible. Few days after, we heard the Minister of Finance talking about certain amounts that were actually being owed, by the federal government. How can a sitting administration hold the opposition responsible for the pace of development? Isn't that an anathema, so to speak?
No, it's easy to explain. Fani Kayode is not the government.
But he represents.
It's not representing the government. Let's get our facts. You're in the media.
Who does it represent?
Let's not misrepresent.
Who or what does it represent?
I'm answering you. You have asked me a question. You let me answer. Fani Kayode is of the campaign, the head of media for the campaign
organization of President Goodluck Jonathan.
Yes. Okay. Now the government is different. People who are in campaign, we see them, we see both sides.
But just a minute, Victor, if I am seeking election, no,
you are cutting me in the middle of my talk.
I am putting the question.
It means there are preconceived answers.
I am putting the question in right perspective.
Well, you asked the question.
Maybe you just give me a minute to do that. Okay. Because what I'm trying to say is that you said he doesn't represent the government, but he represents the campaign organization of Mr. President.
That's PDP. No.
So what happens if somebody is not representing me right?
No. PDP, I mean, any supporter can say anything. Any supporter can say anything. But when the government speaks, you hold them responsible. Fani Kayode does not represent the government of the federal government in any way.
Doesn't represent
Mr. President.
He does
not speak. Say?
Doesn't represent Mr. President.
He doesn't represent Mr. President. He is of the campaign organization for PDP.
So he represents the PDP.
He represents the PDP. And the PDP is not the federal government.
The political party in power.
It's a party in power, but I mean, it's not the federal government. Let's get it in proper perspective. I think these facts need to be made clear.
So what I'm trying to say now is, Fani Kayode says something.
Yes.
Nigerians picks it as a representation.
Because they do not. No, because we are not because they are not properly informed. Fani Kayode is not representing the federal government. He's not representing Mr. President.
Has it really said anything?
The president has a spokesperson.
Has it really said anything that the president comes up or the presidency comes up to debunk?
No, but he's not representing them. He's not representing them.
But I mean, I don't understand you here, Victor.
He's campaigning. No, listen.
Someone
These are, look, listen, both campaign parties, you've heard them, they throw all sorts of accusations back and forth. They do all sorts of propaganda, okay, because they want to push, you know, their party and their candidates forward. You know, let's get these facts right. Some of them, many of them, you can find, they could be spin doctors. Take something and throw it upside. They've been throwing accusations. This one will say, no, you are planning to do this. This one will say, no, you are planning. You take it with a pinch of salt. We've seen it over and over. That's the way they are. Both campaign organizations are guilty of the same thing. They do it. That's the way they do it. Maybe they think that's how campaigns should do.
Don't forget how we got here, because we were talking about how realistic it is for an opposition to, you know, hold a sitting government at ransom.
I don't know what you mean by holding them to ransom.
I mean, holding the capacity of the opposition to determine the pace of development, so to speak, because that was where we started from. We were talking about electricity, you started talking about sabotage and the rest.
Yes.
Isn't it also a function of the capacity of leadership? Because before you lead, you must also have considered the opposition. You must also have considered the possible challenges that will spring up along the line.
See, if you're talking about opposition, you see, for me, an ideal opposition should have the interests of Nigeria at heart, not selfish perspectives where no matter what you do is not good enough. No matter what you do, you condemn, you hack and all that. Responsible opposition is, for instance, if we are prosecuting a war against Boko Haram, you support the government, or you support, as a committed Nigerian, a patriotic Nigerian, you support your army. You don't go there saying they are killing innocent people when you know that these people are killing Nigerians every day. Then you begin to discourage your army from fighting and saying that they're committing genocide. That is not responsible opposition, for instance. I'm talking about a situation where when you have, we should have a common enemy and not side with the enemy. You know, we should fight on the side of Nigeria against our common enemy. Not because you are not there, you are not the one in government, therefore nothing the government does is good enough, then you begin to side with the enemy and begin to denigrate.
Does it appear that the opposition, the APC,
but obviously, yes.
Boko Haram insurgents?
I mean, that has been long in coming. It's only in recent times when, you see, if the president had not taken some of the steps he took, when they said he was being slow and all that, he was being labeled as committing genocide, as killing northerners and things like that.
Hasn't these...
No, just a minute. But his approach, his measured approach, has brought it to a point now where the UN and the international community has declared Boko Haram a terrorist organization. If he had not done it before, Nigerian government would have been termed a terrorist organization.
But hasn't this been the function of opposition across the world? Because let's touch on insecurity for a while now. Mr. President yesterday in an interview affirms that the Chibok girls are alive. The reason being that Shekau had not come out with a video showing them being murdered. Would you call that logically viable, a reason enough to confirm that the girls are alive? Because I'm beginning to look at the reaction of the opposition when leadership speaks.
Now let me ask you a question. I mean, it's your job to ask me a question, but I just want to use something rhetorical and all that. Now, fine. Are you hoping the girls are dead? Do you think the girls are dead? We don't have any proof that they're dead yet, so we keep hope alive. You understand? Because as yet, nobody has said to us the girls have been killed.
But it's over 300 days. Are we supposed to have something tangible?
No, just a minute.
Hold on to?
Just a minute. Only God is omnipresent. Only God is omnipresent. And don't forget that it is easy to disperse these girls across. And if you do that, don't forget, at the point in time, even the Borno State governor was saying that the girls were sold into slavery, and then Shekau came later and confirmed that these girls were sold out and things like that. If that happens, how do you begin to gather them if they've been scattered all over? You know, sold as slaves or whatever. How do you begin to gather them? You know, let's be reasonable for once about these things. You know, some things are feasible, possible. Some things are not. On the war with ISIS, Obama said it would take at least 10 years. Nobody criticized him for that. That was a measured and calculated whatever. When they were going after Osama bin Laden, that took no less than 10 years. It took a long time. But here we want, it's like some sort of magic pill. Nobody is saying the government should not be doing anything. We need to keep them, we need to put pressure on them. We need to make them sit on their toes and do what they need to do. That is okay. Not just the opposition, but every Nigerian, every right-thinking person, every adult, everybody who has a sister, a mother, a daughter, you understand what I'm saying, should put pressure on the government to see how these girls
Isn't
can
that
be
what
brought
the
back.
opposition is doing?
Say?
Isn't that what the opposition is doing?
Yeah, but I mean, not responsibly, if you ask me. Because in doing that, we shouldn't be saying, if I have a solution, if my daughter was there, for instance, and I know how to get her, you understand? Of course, I will provide a solution. But what they're saying here is, okay, don't worry, when we get into government, we know how to get them. Why don't you bring the solution so that the government can put it in place?
Let's open the phone line for a why and get opinion of viewers on all of these issues. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Ahmed from Kaduna.
From Kaduna. Please go ahead with your contribution, Ahmed.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, please, I want to talk, I just want to make a few comments against.
All right.
I say pity to him, a caliber of a man like that to come out in front of the TV stage and tell Nigeria lies. If PDP have paid him money to come and defend them in the TV stage, so you should remember there's a day he come out and said something about the Igbo gays last year. It was the same thing. He don't say Nigeria the truth. Anytime he come on the TV stage, he will never tell Nigeria the truth. He tries to defend what is not truth. And it's not good a man like that. You should remember I have a children. If he's enjoying today, what is he care to know about the children tomorrow? No, you should think of the children tomorrow. We are dying in this country. We are dying. People are dying. No food, no life, no truth. And you started sitting down there defending the government. You come on last year defending government about the people days. Until when someone called and tell him that if it is his own daughter that kidnapped as those get this, how do you feel? You know,
it's all right, Ahmed.
You don't have anything to say to people. You should not come and tell people's lives.
Okay. I believe you made your point there, Ahmed. Looks like Ahmed is not totally in agreement with your position on the issues.
I think he needs to get me right. To say that, just a few minutes ago, I heard what I said, that it is our duty as Nigerians, anybody who has a brother, a sister, a daughter, a mother, will be moved by what has happened to these Chibok girls. I've never been in support of the girls being captured and all that. It touches me. It could have been my daughter. It could have been my sister. You understand what I'm saying? And I think he's misrepresenting me there. When he says lies, I would have been happy to hear what area he's talking about lies. What we're talking about is being responsible. I'm not emotional when I talk about these things. I like to work with facts. You know, emotions, we can just say, just condemn and all that. Let's look at the facts and issue, and then talk about them. If these girls have been scattered all over, let's be honest, it's going to be difficult. You understand? But if the president has said they must be alive because we have not seen any of them that has been pronounced dead yet, what is wrong about that? Should I come here now and be a prophet of doom and say, these girls are all dead? That's not right.
Victor Okhai, I'm going to take you back to my initial question.
Go ahead.
Way past the Chibok girls, way past the light and water issues that we discussed. You recall that my question was that, is it possible that Nigeria had a better leadership that would have addressed these issues more timely and better than we have it now?
You have asked this question for the 10th time. I don't know what you mean by better leadership. I don't see anything wrong with the current leadership. You understand what I'm saying?
Is this the best that Nigeria can have?
Well, obviously, until you test the government, you can't know which is better. You understand what I'm saying? So if we say is the best, it means there can be no better. Everyone is always aspiring for something better. Even you can be better in your methodology, depending on those you have around you and depending on how open you are, and how much, receptive you are to advice, counsel, and things like that. So, would things have been done differently under a different administration? Maybe. Would the results have been the same? Maybe not. You understand? And until we have tested or until we know, we don't know what could have resulted. If perhaps a different government had gone in to Zambisa earlier on, maybe they would have been able to fight, but maybe the girls would have been killed. We would not be saying they're alive today.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to Call Digest. Good morning. Can you turn down the volume of your TV set? Endeavor to turn down the volume of your TV set when you're calling so we can have a crystal clear communication. And of course, don't forget that there's a delay between what we say and what you hear on your StarTimes device. We really appreciate that whenever your call is acknowledged, that you mute your TV set. Now, let's move a little bit ahead from where we stopped. The issue of card readers is also another very controversial debate between the two major parties. It looks as if the position of some Nigerians that I have interviewed is that the yearning is ripe for a more credible electoral process in Nigeria. And it looks as if the card readers are just the silver lining in the dark clouds that we've been looking for a long time. What do you think should be the position of relevant political stakeholders as regards to this issue at this time?
Well, card readers are to authenticate the PVCs. It's like your ATM machine. On your ATM machine, your PIN, your four-number PIN, is like your vote. Okay, but what validates it is your card. And so the card reader, which contains all of your information, will show whether you're the owner of the card or not, because your picture will come up at once, all your information will come up at once. So to that extent, it validates you to vote. Okay. And I guess once you do that, you're not expected to come back and vote a second time. I don't know how the process works precisely because they're yet to test it for us. Okay. So to that extent, it's good. And so if you're not registered or you're not registered in a particular place, you cannot go and vote there. And you cannot have last minute, what do you call it now, mercenaries, hirelings coming to vote. So to that extent, I think it is good. But my worry is, the other day, Jega was demonstrating at the National Assembly, and this was something I'm sure they should have practiced, well before coming there. And so you're expected to put your best foot forward. And it took such a long, long time. It was so embarrassing that coming with your best, you couldn't perform on a day when the whole world was looking at you, on national TV and before the National Assembly to demonstrate, and it failed. So it becomes like a source of worry. Now, you have only so much window period to validate voters, and you can't afford to begin to play around or hope that whether I begin to ask yourself whether it will work or not. And so the challenge is to INEC, really. INEC has to get its acts together. It's not whether one party is interested in saying it should be. Parties have a right to express their fears. You understand? Because if they think that it may not work, or some may argue that bad readers were sent to their places so that their people are unable to vote and things like that. Although, in fairness, INEC has said where it fails, they can vote the next day. I think I heard something like that. I don't know if you heard that as well. They can vote the next day. But I think we should get it right the first time, because when you do that, you create tension. It is things like that that begin to cause problems, riots, and a lot of heated atmosphere, if you like. So what I think is, regardless of what the parties are saying, It behoves on INEC. INEC is going to do a test very soon, hopefully.
Starting on March 7.
Exactly. It behoves on them to demonstrate to us and to reinforce our faith in them by making sure that the card readers actually read the cards, and that there's no delay, and that it won't create problem for users.
Thank you very much for joining us today, Victor Okhai on Core Digest. It's always a pleasure having you. Always. Well, thank you very much for calling in. We had quite a number of challenges with the quality on our phone line today, but you can also reach us on our Twitter handle at Core Digest Live. You can watch this episode again later, 12 midnight today on Core Digest. On Core TV News. That's on Star Times channel 329. I'm being told to take this call. Let's hope it gets through. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. This is John from Lagos.
Jones from Lagos.
Yeah.
Please go.
I want to contribute to the video.
You're our last caller on the show today. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Okay, thank you. Please, to your guest in the studio, I prefer that you could have wear a PDP code so that you can say his representative PDP than standing on the analysis that you cannot analyze it and make it really well. I also heard from Chibok, and the government is not straightforward without issue. In fact, it took the government almost 14 days for them to believe that the girls were kidnapped. See, for everything, let us say the fact. If government has failed its responsibility, let them accept it. That yes, we have failed in this area and failed in this area, but we will improve than shifting the blame always to the APC opposition that are not holding the government. The opposition that is controlling the government, no. So why are they shifting the blame and so on, and you stand there, you analyze things and make it very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Jones.
Thank you,
I
Jones.
believe that you made your contribution in the show already.
Well, he's made his points. We're very emotional concerning Chibok, and it's understandable. Whatever happens, we want those girls back. But more importantly, we want to know their corpses. We want them alive. It may take a while, but I think ultimately what is most important is to be able to get those girls back alive. And that's our prayer, and that's our hope.
Thank you very much for coming again. You can also watch this edition again on YouTube. It's www.youtube.com/CoreTV, leave a space, and news. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Stick around for the top of the hour news. Don't go away.
You can now watch Core TV News live from anywhere in the world on our website, www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to Core TV Primetime News.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click Core TV, leave a space, then news. Core TV News, a 24-hour news station.